Welcome everyone to this webinar series on PPPs in South Asia. I'm Shyamala Shukla, Senior Consultant with the World Bank Group Public-Private Partnerships. This webinar is jointly organized by the E-Institute and the PPP Group of the World Bank. As many of you who had joined us in the last webinar know, that the first webinar of the series was on Bangladesh, and the next three will be on India and Pakistan. But today's webinar is very special. Small is always beautiful, but more so when it is a small PPP and in a small country. Today we will discuss a small project, the multi-level car parking project, which is a PPP in Thimphu Municipal Corporation. And we will see the structuring of this project, the help provided by IFC in doing so. But more importantly, we have today with us the Mayor of Thimphu Municipal Corporation, Kinle Dorji. We are honored to have him with us. Kinle Dorji is the first elected mayor of Thimphu Municipal Corporation. Mayor Kinle Dorji has also had a very long and interesting executive career prior to this, having worked as the general manager of the Bhutan Power Corporation. He will have many insights to present on the problems and the issues and challenges and also the pleasures of doing a small PPP. In a small PPP, you are directly connected to the services, and you do provide services which are essential to people's lives and can often have a transformational effect in a very short space of time if done well. We also have with us today from IFC, joining us from New Delhi, Pankaj Sinha, who's the Senior Investment Officer, who has been closely involved and who has led the team structuring this PPP. And joining us along with the mayor, you can see him on the screen, we have Om Bhandari, who's the country coordinator for Bhutan, who has also been very closely involved in getting the client and the IFC together and to make this a very fruitful experience. So he'll also be speaking to us. And before we go on to Mayor Dorji and hear his vision and the mission of the Municipal Corporation of Thimphu in doing this project and in the long-term, idea which they have in terms of making Thimphu a better and a more livable city, we will ask Om to share with us some thoughts and some details very briefly on what it is like in a small country like Bhutan to have PPPs and what experiences Bhutan has had so far in this space. Om, over to you.
Thank you, Shyamala. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the global audience. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our experience on public-private partnerships here in Thimphu, Bhutan. Bhutan, as Shyamala mentioned, is a very small country, just over 15,000 square miles or 38,000 square kilometers. It is landlocked and sandwiched between India and China. And what makes it even more difficult is that it is the mountainous terrain. The country has 700,000 people. Most of them are smallholder farmers. Thimphu, the capital, hosts about 100,000 citizens and has about 37,000 vehicles as we speak. The central business district of the capital is just 1 square kilometer. It's not like any other Asian city that one may think about. And to this date, we still do not have traffic lights. But thanks to far-sighted leaders like the Honorable Mayor, whom we have here today, we are foreseeing problems of the future and working on it today. Infrastructure in Bhutan has traditionally been developed with assistance from donor partners, namely India. The first roads were constructed in the late 1960s. Health and education are still free for all its citizens. And the state has led the provision of services such as transport, power, telecommunication, financial services, legal services, tourism, and postal services. In the last 10 years, many of these services have been transformed or transferred from the state to state-owned corporations. And in the last 5 years, there's been more private engagement, particularly in the field of telecommunications, in financial services, in airline services, and also more of manufacturing. As far as public-private partnership experience goes, the royal government of Bhutan is very keen in promoting public-private partnerships for the development of infrastructure. We have had mixed experience so far, and we are learning from these experiences. These can be because of viability gap reasons, or because of technical reasons, legal reasons, or because of non-clarity in procurement processes. The World Bank is assisting the royal government to develop a public-private partnership policy, and we look forward to more PPPs in the current 11th five-year plan. It's very important that capacity of the key stakeholders within the country needs to be developed. In this particular project, we have received exceptional support from the Royal Government of Bhutan. Thank you. Thank you. Back to you, Shyamala.
Now we request Mayor Dorji to discuss about his experiences of the project, the issues and challenges that he has been facing. Mayor Dorji, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing.
Thank you for the time. Good morning to the audience in the US, and good evening to Pankaj and my colleagues here. Thank you to Om for introducing Bhutan, introducing the capital city. I'm very excited. On the outset, I would like to thank the World Bank and IFC for supporting us. As Om highlighted, there isn't any legal background or legal footings that we have to start all these projects in the country. We are just starting with a PPP policy, but with the support from IFC, I think we have been able to work through and has been successful in awarding the work, signing the concession, and even starting the work now. Main reason why I had to really take this up as a very important initiative for the city is there are three reasons. The first and foremost being that we in the capital city have a Thimphu structural plan which was prepared way back in 2000 and 2002, approved by the government then in 2004. So the structural plan very well explains what are the requirements of a growing city, the growing Thimphu city. We have particularly the Norzin Lam, which is the main street in the central business district, which needs to be at some time close to traffic and allow only pedestrians. Of course, this is a long-term plan which was done in 2002, as I said, and is for next 25 years. Anybody could have said that this can be done at a later state, at a later date. We need not even, take it up immediately. But then my concern was that Thimphu is growing. We have, as Om highlighted, there is 37,000 cars already in the city. So we need to look at having open spaces. We need to have recreational parks where the population at large can enjoy their leisure hours, can have family gatherings, social gatherings in open spaces. Because as Thimphu grows and people tends to become more and more involved in their own job, opportunities, I think everybody becomes more and more engaged in their own self, and no time for friends, and no time for neighbors, or no time for the community. So that has been a big concern as far as even the highest authority in the country, His Majesty the King. We need to create opportunities where people can come together, interact, make friends, and live in harmony. So that has been also my biggest concern, that Thimphu is growing and population is increasing, but people are becoming more and more individualistic and do not even want to be helping each other. Even staying in an apartment, people do not know each other, which was not our culture and tradition. We are very friendly people, so that is where we are heading, and we are concerned that as a city authority, we should try to create avenues where people can come together, and Norzin Lam is one perfect place where we want more and more gatherings to happen. And the second thing, as I highlighted, we have 37,000 cars, and it's going to increase over the next couple of years. And my concern is we become very crowded. We would experience traffic congestions like any other capital cities in the world. And we would become more and more frustrated, trying to reach faster. So all these concerns have put together this parking project, that we need to have a parking space where people can comfortably park, go for a short walk, do the shopping, come back and go home. So these two parking projects, the multi-level car park that we have identified in two locations, have been very ideal, the most ideal locations in the city, and it would definitely serve the purpose of finding adequate parking space when we have too many cars coming in the city. And the challenge was, again, we do not, as I highlighted, we do not have many state land, many open spaces, and it's crowding. And when we proposed this project, even we had concern from the highest authority whether we should take this up or not. So we finally had to take the blessing from the highest authority, and we are happy that we could get the support, and we could move this project forward. So therefore, I feel that with the project now in the implementation stage, I look forward to the next 1.5 years to 2 years to complete this multi-level car park, and maybe in 2017 or 2018, we should be able to remove the traffic from Norzin Lam and turn Norzin Lam into a beautiful pedestrian street where we can even have benches being set up. We even have some fast foods, cafeterias being set up on the street. So there are many plans being, thought about, many plans being now really planned, so that after 2 years we see a different place in Norzin Lam. And we are also trying to create awareness amongst the business community in this area, because anything coming new, any changes taking place has many resistance. And I'm sure with time, as time passes, we will find that business along this street will do much more. Because today you try to go along the street and try finding a parking space to go and buy a few things. It's really difficult. You have to even make 2-3 rounds to find a parking space. And this is going to be worse if we do not have these 2 parking lots in place. So therefore, I really feel that it has been timely. The support from IFC and of course the Royal Government of Bhutan had also supported this right from the initial stage of signing the FASA agreement between IFC, the Ministry of Finance, and the municipal authority. So therefore, there was cooperation from all agencies in the country from the beginning, and I'm extremely happy that we could take this up as a PPP, where we are looking at so many other projects in the country. The other day we were having coordination meetings amongst our municipal and the ministry, and there are some other municipal who have some projects, but they do not have the resources to do it. So I even propose that you should look at going for PPP, even if it is very small, doesn't matter, but we can do it. And if we have the will, we can do it. And once again, I want to thank Pankaj and Isabel for your time and energy to have helped us through this project. And I always have full trust on the expertise of IFC. I always said that with your expertise, with the kind of due diligence that you have done, I see no problem in the next 2 years and even the next 20 plus years to carry on this project and serve the purpose of the project, that it is not only going to create parking spaces for the residents, but it will also help the Thomde, the city, in realizing some revenues out of the project, so that we work towards realizing our mission of making Thimphu city more financially sustainable, more financially autonomous, so that we can do much more for the people without having to look for resources from the government. So with this, I would want to thank again the opportunity that has been provided, that we, being a very small city, very small country, we are very proud that we could take this up as a PPP project, though very small in size, but I think this will make a big difference for a city once it is completed. And I wish once this is done, people will be more happy. They will find a parking space. They can, in the process, we make Thimphu city more livable, and we want Thimphu city to even explore other PPP projects from here on. So thank you very much. I hand over back to Shamala. Thank you.
Thanks, Shyamla. Good evening, everyone. In Bhutan and India. And good morning, Om, for giving very beautiful country content. Briefly on the bid process, how we selected the private sector player in a very transparent mode, and third, just some of the key lessons that we learned while doing this transaction. So on the structuring, and there is basically we would like to focus this, we want this session to be more interactive, and we would like to get more and more questions so that we can explain, because we are already getting a lot of questions on the location and different aspects of the structuring. So on the structure, I mean, if I can request all of you to go to slide 8, that basically shows overall layout of the city. The area within the dotted line, it shows the central business district of the city, and that was part within the scope of this project, and the task was business area of Thimphu city. So I'm right now on slide 8. Yes, this is the slide. And you can see there are two dots, red dots, big dots. They were basically the proposed sites for developing the multi-level car park. But there were many, I think there are about 15 or 16 off-street and on-street parking sites. So there are already existing parking sites in this area, which were managed by a local contractor. So the whole project was to develop a parking system which will involve a private sector concessionaire managing the existing surface parking as well as developing and operating the new multi-level car park at these two locations. So this was briefly the project definition. Now when we got into the structuring part, I mean we appointed a very reputed legal consultant as well as technical consultants to back our IFC team, which was mainly doing the financial structuring of the project. While doing the structuring, there were 5 basic elements that we looked into. The first was what should be the demand and the demand estimate and the sizing of the project. So we knew the current size of surface parking, but given the the growth projection of the vehicular traffic and the number of cars getting registered in the country, we did a thorough demand analysis. I think we did 2 or 3 rounds of on-site demand estimation, where the survey team basically stood on some of the crucial points in the city, and then basically they measured the number of cars or number of vehicles passing through that area, and based on that we determined the sizing of the project, because the challenge was not to undersize at the same time not to make it a very oversized, just to be on the conservative side, because we were also keen that this facility should be properly utilized also. We didn't want to create a white elephant. So based on that analysis, we chose a certain minimum size of the multi-level car park. So on the right hand side, you can see the first site was about 350 parking spaces. That was the minimum size which was given to the developer. On the other side, we had this 200 minimum car spaces. Again, the location will get into that later on, but the idea was to give a symmetric, site location so that people who are coming from one side need not, park the car and then travel for say 1 or 2 kilometers for doing their shopping. So that was one. The second was what technology we should choose, whether we should go for manual car park or semi-automatic or a mechanized car park system. Now, given the technical capacity of the country, as not only just Thromde but also of the private sector, we thought that this being the first PPP project in this area, we thought that the manual car park would be adequate for this project. And all those capital costs and the financial analysis would also come in picture, but broadly these were the consideration that the team chose, and then we discussed with the client Thimphu Thromde, and everyone agreed for this manual car park system. Then the third aspect was the competing facility, because the proposed multi-level car park would not be viable if we allowed the existing surface parking facilities to be run by the same local contractor, because then people would have all the incentive to park on the surface. So we thought that we have to remove the competing facilities, and we included all the existing surface parking into one package, where the entire parking slots within the red dotted line were packaged into one project and basically part of the concession, which was to be given to the concessionaire. So that was the third part. Fourth, the major revenue aspect of this project would be coming from the tariff. So tariff is set by Thromde in consultation with Royal Government of Bhutan. So we did the analysis on tariff, and we were aware of the fact that if we propose, and tariff is a public sensitive issue, so we cannot leave that tariff setting feature into the hands of the concessionaire. So, but at the same time, we can't keep uncertainty in a PPP project, which would lead to unnecessary contract dispute later on. So we gave a very detailed schedule of tariff, which was the existing tariff, and how the tariff would escalate, because tariff escalation and the tariff, they were very crucial and sensitive as far as financial viability was concerned. So we gave a detailed schedule of existing tariff for different category of vehicles, as well as a very certain mechanism and transparent mechanism for future escalation. So a detailed formula was given in the concession agreement, linking to their local inflation index, which is called Consumer Price Index in Bhutan, so CPI. So that was the fourth component. And then of course, taking all the four factors into account, we did a thorough financial analysis. We thought that, because there was another constraint which is given in the presentation, that like any other city, Thimphu Thromde is also is not having lot of money. So we were very sensitive to the fact that we cannot develop a project which requires a huge capital subsidy. So our objective was also minimize, or if possible, make this project financially viable, which doesn't require any capital subsidy or operating subsidy. So when we included the component of some amount of real estate, commercial development flexibility within the project, we could see that project was getting viable. And based on all those analysis, we found that project doesn't need a capital or operating subsidy, and the project can be given on a model where the developer would be giving an annual concession fee. And just to make the bidding criteria objective, the financial criteria was that higher annual concession fee, the bidder quoting highest annual concession fee would be selected. So this was broadly about the structure. Now in terms of broadly the contractual parameter, the concession was given for 22 years. Again, that came from the financial model, which was giving a decent equity return. So we were clear that we don't want to give the site because site or any land parcel in this city is going to be very sensitive and very scarce commodity. So we were very clear that we will give the tenure only whatever is required for the viability of the project. So the concession was of 22 year. The PPP model was design, build, finance, operate and transfer. So basically the private sector was responsible for designing the project, building the project. They are responsible for securing the financing. They will operate the whole project, as well as they will transfer the project free of cost after 22 years. That is the term of the concession. The approximate project cost, if you refer to slide 13, we found out it was about $8 million, which was not a very big project. And then as a part of the structure, the developer will develop everything. They will have the right to collect parking tariff, parking revenue. So all the vehicles which are coming to the existing surface parking as well as the proposed multi-level car park, the revenue will be collected by the developer. They will be using this revenue plus the revenue coming from the proposed real estate or commercial flexibility given in the project to repay their debt and all those obligations, so that they will be sharing a fixed annual concession fee with the Thromde. And just to limit the commercial real estate development so that the project doesn't become a real estate project instead of a parking project, we capped the flexibility of developing real estate up to 20% of the total built up area. So that was given as some sort of sweetener, and that really helped us in getting a couple of bidders, serious bidders, finally bidding in the project. So briefly, this is about the structure. I can take questions later on the contractual or payment structure, but in turn now I'll go to the bid process. So again, we were very clear that this being the first PPP project in the urban sector being done in Bhutan, we have to be very transparent. So we followed a very comprehensive process. We started with an expression of interest, which was a non-binding process, where we basically issued a one-page expression of interest to all the players globally. And we also parallelly reached out to various urban infrastructure players, both in Bhutan as well as in India, because this was the first time the project was being done, multi-level car park being done in Bhutan. So obviously there was no player with multi-level car park experience in Bhutan. But then we reached out to various construction companies as well as MLCP and construction players in India, in Nepal, in other countries also, even in Southeast Asia also. And then we got about 6 applicants who showed interest in this project. So we then after that we developed, we interacted with them, we took their feedback, and then we developed the bid documents. The bid documents was approved by the steering committee constituted by Thromde. Now that steering committee was very helpful because that was a single empowered committee which was taking all the decisions in terms of approving the bid documents or even having the authority to change in case of any feedback coming from the bidders, potential bidders. And that was having representation not only from Thromde, which included technical, their engineers, their architect from Thromde. Of course, the committee was chaired by Mr. Dorsey, who is sitting here, but it was also having representation from Royal Government of Bhutan, the federal government in Bhutan, from Ministry of Finance, from the concerned ministry which is looking after the urban affairs in the country. And that high-powered committee was basically taking call on the bid documents and all. So then after getting the approval of the bid documents, we issued the bid documents. We again got, and the bid documents were sold at certain nominal price just to make sure that only serious bidders, participate in this project. And then we organized, after issuing the documents, after giving them about 1 month or 1.5 months of time, we organized a pre-bid meeting where all the bidders were having, so the bidders went through the document, each and every clause. They came back with their detailed feedback, their detailed suggestions. And then we had this pre-bid meeting in Thimphu, and after that we got some reasonable suggestions. We again sat with the steering committee, the project steering committee. We made some changes, and after that we issued the final documents, and finally we got 2 bids, and the bids were basically single stage 2 envelopes. So basically there was one envelope comprising the technical aspect of the proposal, and the second envelope was having financial. Now here I would just like to highlight that Bhutan was particularly, the client team, the whole steering committee was very particular that the proposed multi-level car park structure should be consistent with the local architectural norms. So, government of Bhutan, all the officials, and even the people of Bhutan are very proud of their local architecture. So they were very clear that the new building should not look like something which is not matching with the existing architecture. So there was one clause in the technical proposal, though that brought some amount of subjectivity, but the client was very clear that the proposal, the developer should submit some sort of high level architectural layout of the multi-level car park that should give comfort to the authority that they understand the nature of the project, and their design is going to be consistent with the local architecture. And second part, and just in the bid process, I would like to highlight that we designed the criteria in such a way, because one of the reasons why initially THROMDE decided to go for PPP model for this project, because they didn't have the design experience. See, most of the projects in Bhutan as of now are given on EPC model, where everything is done by the local authorities, and the local contractors basically just construct as per the design. But this was, since they were not having, so that was also one of the reasons for going for PPP model. I mean, of course, there were other reasons also, but this was also one of the key reasons. So we made sure that while local contractors, construction companies, there are a lot of local construction companies who are operating in Bhutan, while they were allowed to bid in this project, just to make sure that we have enough competition, because the project size was not big enough to get a lot of players from, say, India or even other countries. But at the same time, the design aspect was assured that the winning bidder will make sure that the designer is having adequate experience of designing multi-level car park. So that way, basically we designed the whole bid process. Finally, we got the two bids. One bid was not found technically qualifying, so we were left with only one financially valid bid, and that bid, the bidding criteria, as I have already mentioned, that was annual concession fee. We also set the floor, because just above the steering committee, the THROMDE, the city also has a city council. Now, city council was very clear that it will be very difficult to approve this project if city is going to lose any revenue which they were getting from the existing surface parking operations. So we were, since we did the financial analysis and we found that the project is financially viable, we put a floor of the bid, and the floor was determined in such a way that it is going to be equal to the same amount which city is currently getting from the local contractor. And even to our surprise, the bid who won the project was basically a consortium of a Bhutanese construction company and a Nepalese construction company, and the Nepalese construction company is a very reputed firm. I mean, if you go to slide 20, so you can see the composition of the bidding consortium. So the C Construction is a very leading construction company based out of Nepal. They have got a huge experience in construction. They have developed many multi-level, not only multi-level car parks as a part of the building, but also multi-storied buildings. And they tied up with local companies called KNG Private Limited and Rinson Constructions. So it was a good mix where KNG is basically taking the responsibility of operation of surface parking. Rinson is a leading construction company, so they are taking the responsibility of construction. C is taking the overall, getting the financing and getting the designer. C Services is basically the design firm of C Construction. So they quoted a number which was almost 70% higher than what THROMDE was receiving from the previous operator. So in that way, the THROMDE got a very favorable bid, and immediately after that, the project was awarded to the KCR. KCR is basically a short form of C, KNG and Rinson. So that was an SPV, because as a part of the concession agreement, the winning bidder was also supposed to form an SPV. So the project was awarded and the concession agreement was signed on 1st September 2014. And as of now, they have already taken over the operations of the surface parking, which was the easier thing done, because THROMDE immediately, that was another good thing, and we must thank for the support of THROMPAN and THROMDE, that they immediately cancelled the contract, because we were worried that this transition may lead to some sort of social issues. but the contract of the local contractor was anyway expiring in June, so they were given a 3-month extension, and before the takeover, the transition was very smooth. KCR Limited took over the existing operations. So far, they have already given one of the site 2, which is for minimum 200 car spaces. The deep excavation has already started. Thompan has already mentioned that the approval for giving the site was already taken from the highest authority, which is His Majesty of Bhutan. And on site 2 also there were few issues. That's why we gave the flexibility in the contract that Thomde reserves the right to hand over the site in a period of 1 year, because on site 1, which was having a minimum capacity of 350 spaces, there were about 10 households which were, so there were some people living on that site, and we were worried that that may take some time. But I'm very pleased to update, I was there last week in Bhutan. All the households, all the houses have been, demolished. The people have living there where basically all the people were employees of government, so they have been given alternative accommodation. And all these things have been done, and the site is now ready for handover to the developer. And I think as we speak now, I'm not sure whether we have one representative from KCR or not, but they were about to get financing from a local bank in Bhutan for an amount of about $5 to $6 million. Remaining they are getting as an equity. So that was about the project structure and the bid process. In terms of key lesson, the only lesson I would like to highlight here is that while structuring the project as well as designing the criteria, we have to be very careful about the local capacity. I mean, you cannot design a criteria assuming that somebody from some outside or some other countries will just come. It all depends on various factors. It is very difficult for any player to go to another country just for doing one project. So the local, whether it is local architectural norms or the local construction capacity in terms of determining the bid criteria, it is very important to understand the local context. So at this stage I would like to stop, and then we can take questions. I can't hear.
And talking about renovation now,
Thank you for the question. If I have understood your question correctly, I would want to again say that in the process of the due diligence, the structuring of the project, the tendering, the clearing of the sites, handing over of the sites, starting of the work, I think absolutely we did not face any major challenges. It's only when that we awarded the work and we were in the process of trying to register the land in the name of the city, then we got some shocking news, which was that I think the highest authority also had a big concern that to have such a huge structure in the center of the city and trying to congest the city with the structure that is coming up. So the concern from the highest authority was also very genuine, that if we had not selected the right location, if we had gone for a wrong site, then definitely the parking project would have come out very enormous, very ugly, very crowded. So the concern from the highest authority was genuine, and we, in the end, when His Majesty himself had the interest to come and see the site, and was very happy that the selection was correct and is in the right location, he was absolutely happy. So with that clearing of the site and getting the registration of the land and removing those 6-7 old government quarters from the site one, everything went so smooth. We did not really face any challenges as yet. But when we talk about trying to stop the traffic on Norzin Lam and trying to make that as a pedestrian street, I hear that people have reservations, people are concerned that their business may go down. But on the other hand, with the kind of sensitization that we have already carried out in the past by way of closing this street and having some business opportunities like setting up stalls and allowing people to have free access to this area, has proven that in the long run, next 2 years, 3 years, closing of traffic and making that into a pedestrian street is going to happen. So people are kind of now waiting for that to happen, but maybe 50% of the business retailers or proprietors do have concerns that the business may go down and their real estate business may be affected. Other than that, I think we have absolutely no problem, and I always thank Pankaj and his team for doing a very thorough due diligence, the kind of expertise they brought in, the traffic experts, the legal experts, the kind of surveys that they have carried out at site. I think that is very much required, and to come to a conclusion that yes, that is the site which is most ideal and we should have this parking lot being constructed there. So, as I said, did not really have any big challenge, and I don't see any major challenge now. Things have started. We are fully cooperating with the SPB, KCR to come up with the works much faster. We are even looking at finishing this one of the projects way before 2 years, which is better for the city, better for the concessionaire. So that's it. We are geared to take this up in a much faster way. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So so we asked the bidder. We gave a very specific format to as a part of the bid document. So when they were asked to submit the bid, we gave a very clear-cut and a very objective format in which they were supposed to give their drawings as well as the write-up on how they are going to develop the project. So that was one. Coming to the drawing, yes, they were asked to submit a high-level drawing of the whole multi-level car park system, which also included a section for the commercial, commercial area. And they were supposed to give the dimensions in the drawing so that our technical consultants and the architect of Thromde could measure. They were also supposed to give the areas also to measure on independently whether the total area proposed is within 20% norm or not. So that was in terms of high level design part. Third, no, we were not very restrictive in terms of what sort of commercial development could be done, because again that would not be, that was not be, in terms of improving the or increasing the competition of the project, because bidders were very clear that they wanted some flexibility. At the same time, we were also conscious of the fact that they could not develop something which is not allowed in the country. So anything which was legal in the country, they could develop within that 20% area. So whether it is office or shops or restaurant or anything. So. Okay, so I'll request my team member Nandini Swarup, who was also part of the team as urban expert. Maybe I'll request Nandini, can you just answer that question?
Hello. Did consider levels of service, which were included as KPIs in the concession agreement. There were different kinds of service levels that we were going to measure, whether it was with respect to quality, particularly with respect to MLCPs and on-street and off-street parking. We were very concerned in terms of, the number of incidents or accidents should be minimized. So we had specified a very, very minimal number of minor incidents that, that would be acceptable within a payment period, but anything over and above that or anything involving a major accident would definitely be fined. The second category of service quality that we were measuring was with respect to availability of parking spaces, and the concessionaire was required to ensure 95% availability of parking spaces in the parking structures at all of the time. And the Thimphu Thromde representatives or any of the users or could, if there was a report coming from any of these quarters in terms of availability being any lesser or not of the quality that was expected, the concessionaire could be penalized for that. And the third was availability of different kinds of infrastructure that would be crucial to safety and usability of the multi-level car parks. For instance, the availability of elevators or lighting within the building. So all of these sort of parameters were highlighted to ensure that there was minimum safety and service quality level within all of the parking structures across the city. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Nandini. I would just like to add, while determining the service level requirement, from the structuring aspect, we were very clear, though we were having that, tendency to have multiple, KPIs or multiple service level requirement, but we were very clear that we will put only those requirements which are absolutely bare minimum, which are required for the efficient operation of the project, and at the same time which can be verified, which can be measured. It cannot be subjective that, there has to be a lighting or something like that. So we were also, I think we missed one more point. We also had entry and exit, time, because that could lead to some sort of traffic jam. So we said that, each car, the entry time could not exceed more than, say, I think 40 seconds or something like that. Similarly, the exit, there was some time limit beyond which they have to issue the ticket. So the idea was just to make sure that because of this system, there is no traffic, congestion in the street, public street. So that's how we structured the KPIs, and for each KPI there was a compensation mechanism which would basically feed into the concession fee payment.
Yeah, I was muted. So, thank you for the question. I think IFC's engagement in in developing, in advising the royal government and government agencies uh, for developing infrastructure through public-private partnerships has been going on for a couple of years very actively. Um, and this we realized the need for capacity building, and uh, very recently, let's say, to talk about the last couple of years, we have engaged key decision makers in, very specific trainings. Uh, one was at the Harvard, where we trained one of the key decision makers in the royal government. In addition, we've also had a workshop uh, in Thimphu, where various stakeholders were brought together and exposed to PPPs. Um, and as part of this particular project, we have a post-transaction advisory phase. It's not just that we sign the concession and we are off. IFC would like to see that this project goes through, and as part of that post-transaction advisory, we are advising not only the Thimphu municipality but other municipalities as well as government agencies on public-private partnerships, and one was concluded just a week or two back. We've also signed a memorandum of understanding with the government's investment and commercial arm, the True Holding and Investments, wherein IFC has committed to help that particular agency and other related agencies to bring up capacity of various players within the government system, um, to carry on and understand, appreciate public-private partnerships. Together now we are also working with the World Bank. The World Bank is is helping the world government to develop a PPP policy wherein capacity is being looked at as a very important item under the policy, and the World Bank is committed to help the royal government in developing further capacity once the policy is approved. And that is just the World Bank and IFC. We also have UN agencies. The UNSCAP, for example, conducted a very interesting seminar and workshop on PPPs a couple of weeks back. And the IFC is engaged. We in fact made a presentation of this parking project over there. So we are working with various stakeholders, and the government also within itself has has an investment company called the DHI Infra, whose primary responsibility is in PPP. So the government themselves are also working on it. So it's a concerted effort from all stakeholders. Of course, there's much to be done. I hope this helps. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Shyamla. So, on various methods of technical evaluation. Now, given the fact that first project was not that big, and we were also conscious of the fact that any scoring or weightage may lead to some sort of a dispute or is it okay?
It okay? It okay? It okay? It okay? It okay?
You know, what were the performance incentives that were considered, and what was your how did you fix the levels of service and other details of this?
Uh, about the yeah. I think the first thing that comes to my mind when we say green, uh, we have definitely incorporated in our project requirement to have enough charging stations for the electric vehicles which is going to come in. Because now with the Prime Minister's initiative to make Thimphu City go electric vehicles, more and more electric vehicles to come in, I think we needed more charging stations within the parking lot. So that has been incorporated in the parking project. Other than that, I don't see any other aspect which we have come across, but that's it.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Is it okay now? Is it okay now? Is it okay now?
Hello?
Hello?
Okay. So the financial criteria was, so we went for basic. There was no scoring for technical because we wanted to avoid subjectivity. So the bidders submitting the valid technical proposal was qualified based on the objective criteria already defined in the RFP, and those who qualified, only their financial bids were
We're getting a
opened.
bit of an echo
So
from
finally
your
we got
side,
only
so
one
if
bid
you could,
whose
whenever you
technical
speak, if you could mute
technical proposal
the
was
TV or
considered
anything else
qualified
that's
by the
running
evaluation
along with
committee of
this
Thornday,
your laptop, it
and
would be great.
that bidder was given the
And
project.
we have a
So that
question from
was
Ray,
on the question
where
of
he
the
asks
weightage.
we
In
should be
terms of
thinking about the
transfer of the asset,
long-term
as I mentioned in the beginning,
capacity
the
building in the
project
country and
is to be
not
transferred at the end of the concession, which is 22 years, free of cost on as is where is basis, back to the Thornday. If the project is terminated during the tenure of the
any other
concession, let's say after 10 or
capacity
15
building
years,
activity
then
going
there is
on
a
in
detailed
Bhutan in order to
mechanism
build
by which the
capacity
Thornday
for
has to
various
compensate the developer
organizations
by
to
paying
in
his
the country.
debt due, and depending upon whose fault is that, they have to pay certain compensation to take over the asset. But at the end of 22 year, that is at the end of the concession period, it will be transferred free of cost. There were again a couple of questions on the currency. So Mr. Devinder Sandhu asked about the currency. No, the currency in dollar is just for this
So
presentation.
did you
The
miss the
financial
question
model
or
was
did you
done
hear
and the
it?
bid documents were prepared keeping in view the local currency neutrum. And also somebody asked whether there is any EPC contract in this project. No, there is no EPC component in this project. So I think I have answered two more questions. Sorry, can you repeat the question? So basically, at this point of time, I remember we considered the hurdle rate of about 18%. So when we did the financial model, when we kept the base price of about 8 million neutrum as the floor of the bidding concession fee, we did that as about 18% equity IRR. So no, thanks, Amla. So I think one key thing I have already mentioned about localizing the context of the project while defining the project structure. The other thing is that having a very empowered client, because based on our experience of doing PPPs in this part of the region, we think that a lot of PPPs don't succeed because we don't have an empowered and committed client. So in this case, we had a very supportive and empowered client in the form of Thompen, as well as the empowered steering committee, which had all the authority to take decisions on making the bid documents. At the end of the day, this is a business deal, and unless until the committee has adequate power and authority and flexibility to change depending upon the market realities, that's the key to the success. Thanks.
First of all, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. We could also learn through this interaction. I think the one last thing that I would like to share here is that as a municipal authority, we always have to look for resources to take up so many important projects in the city which will add to the services to the people and also improve the livability of the city. So therefore, if there is resource constraints, we should now look at PPP as the ultimate solution to our problem.
And now we have
we
a
want
question
more and more
Pankaj.
public-private partnerships to happen in the city,
I'll put together
so
two
that
questions.
we do not
exactly
wait
related,
for
but they are on
government
the
resources
budget.
to come by and wait for
Amit
many
asks,
years
can you elaborate
to have a
more
parking
on how much
project being
weightage
done
was
through
given to
government
the
support
technical and financial
or any
parameters
other
in the
important
bidding
project
process?
which has to
And
happen
there's
today
the other
and not after
question
5 years.
which you can
So
answer
PPP
immediately
is the
following
only
that.
way
This is from
that
Arthur
we should
Smith.
now look at
How is the transfer of the asset
trying
at the
to
end of the contract
provide
structured, and
services
does
to
the
the people.
concessionaire receive any compensation at the time of the transfer?
Thank you.
Pankaj. Pankaj, we are getting a very bad